It's your first night on the job at the new Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. You walk into the establishment to find that you're completely alone. As you walk through the entryway, you see 3 animatronics on stage, Freddy, Bonnie, and Chica. That's sort of unnerving. You start to come across some unusual things in the hallways of the pizzeria. Why were these 3 old animatronics thrown haphazardly into this closet? What is this music box in the prize corner, and why is it so imperative that it be kept wound? Most importantly, what is this thing? You have a lot of questions. You head back to the security office, but as you pass the stage, you stop and take a second glance. Weren't there 3 animatronics on stage before? Fazbear Nights 2 is not only the scariest fan game I've ever played, it's my favorite 3D FNAF game ever, and it was made in only a week. I've always been impressed with fan games that integrate free roaming into the sit and survive formula. Unfortunately, few games have actually done that much with it. Several of the Joy of Creation story modes levels have you getting up from your desk and walking around, but they'd work just fine using FNAF 4 style point and click mechanics. The goal is ultimately still to keep the animatronics out of the room or hide from them, and the fact that you can walk around is really more of a novelty than anything else. It's cool, but it doesn't add that much to the gameplay beyond a bit of immersion. At first glance, Fazbear Nights 2 might appear similar. You're sitting in the office, monitoring the animatronics on the cameras, and winding up the puppet's music box. All the same stuff you do in FNAF 2. However, unlike Scott's classic 2D game, there's no way to lock the animatronics out of anywhere. There's no mask you can wear to hide from them. When the animatronics come for you, there's only one course of action. You need to run. You need to run to the subscribe button and press it if you have not already. Each of the game's 5 nights follows a similar formula. We need to complete a series of tasks and then survive until 6 AM. Night 1 requires that we enter every room in the pizzeria and familiarize ourselves with the location. Throughout each level, different animatronics will activate and begin patrolling the establishment. Using a combination of stealth, audio and visual cues, and the security cameras, the player must navigate through the FNAF 2 location and complete their objectives without being seen. If you're spotted, your assailant will make terrifying noises and chase you in what are truly some of the most intense sequences I've ever played. Oh shit! The player is faster than nearly all the enemies, and this gives you opportunities to dart around corners or quickly jump into a locker, hoping to give them the slip. The game features a large cast of animatronics, including all the FNAF 2 mainstays. Toy Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, Mangle, the withered versions of each, the puppet, Balloon Boy, and even obscure characters like Shadow Freddy, Shadow Bonnie, and the Endos. These characters have unique mechanics, and different sets of them emerge each night, keeping the gameplay varied and keeping the player on their toes. Toy Bonnie and Chica patrol the hallways, but if they catch sight of the player, they'll begin to chase. The animatronics are relentless in this game. They will chase you until they lose sight of you. You are faster than them, and the pizzeria's twists, turns, and doorways allow you to slip away, but these same obstacles can also slow you down. What really ties Fazbear Nights 2's mechanics together is the music box. Just like in FNAF 2, a meter slowly ticks down. If we fail to keep the music box wound, the puppet will emerge, hunt the player down, and it's game over. As you'd expect, the music box can be wound remotely from the cameras in the security office. However, we can also walk over to the music box and physically wind it. Each has their drawbacks. The prize corner is in the most centralized, dangerous room in the pizzeria. It's right next to the stage, and it can be pretty easy to get cornered. However, using the terminal in the security office takes a lot longer, and it leaves you vulnerable. Many times I went to get up from the desk only to find an animatronic had me completely trapped. Sometimes you don't have a choice. You need to wind the music box, and if there's an animatronic in the office, you have to walk over to the prize corner and wind it up manually, or vice versa.
Won't be long before I can charge the pop.
Night 2 introduces the withered animatronics, the busted up robots from FNAF 1. These enemies move a little slower than the toy animatronics, and they don't patrol quite as aggressively. However, they move quietly and can sneak up on you, and if they do catch sight of you, they're relentless in their pursuit. Seriously, you have to try to get away from these things. Running aimlessly will just get you killed.
Shit, that scared me.
Throughout the map are lockers the player can hide in. These serve as a last-ditch effort to escape, but they're risky. Some of the animatronics will open the lockers, and some will hang out outside them for a while before returning to their patrol routines. If the music box was running low when you got chased into the locker, there's a good chance the puppet will kill you before you're able to wind it back up. As the nights go on, new mechanics are introduced. Freddy chases you in bursts, staring at you unmoving before suddenly rushing towards you and stopping again. Foxy runs at you but can be momentarily blinded by shining your flashlight in his eyes, just like in FNAF 2. Unfortunately, Balloon Boy disables your flashlight for 30 seconds, so. Shadow Freddy and Shadow Bonnie also make an appearance, cruising through the hallways. Looking at them makes them mad, and coming into contact with them makes them really mad. Mangle can see in all directions, but not very far. It makes horrible noises though, ugh. The core gameplay doesn't change too much from night to night. While they each have unique missions, they're all effectively fetch quests, excuses to make you move throughout the pizzeria. This isn't necessarily a bad idea. Fazbear Nights 2 derives its fun from putting the player into unique and scary situations involving the dynamic AI, and the game is more fun when you're under the pressure to sneak past Chica and grab that last plushie before 6 AM rolls around. You try to keep your cool. You keep the music box wound up. You keep track of all the animatronics positions using the cameras. Everything is under control until suddenly it isn't. One of the animatronics spots you. You hear the robotic shriek echo through the halls. You don't have time to look, you just run. You're faster than the animatronics, but only just barely. You round a corner only to spot another animatronic standing in your path. You quickly duck into a room. You can hear them entering behind you as you flee out the back end, around a corner and into a locker. You hold your breath as the mechanical assailants approach. After what feels like an eternity, they finally leave. You exit the locker as relief washes over you. You made it. You survived. You've got this. Wait a minute, what's that music? Fazbear Nights 2 is a game where plans go to die. Just like the classic FNAF games, you try to maintain a calm, methodical approach to each night. You know the rules that each animatronic follows, and you know what you need to do to protect yourself from them. However, shit happens, and when it does, you panic, and suddenly all your meticulous strategy goes out the window as you frantically struggle to survive. The game relies on its dynamic AI and unpredictable nature to keep the player on their toes, and this succeeds in almost every way. There are some downsides to this approach, however. Sometimes you get caught between multiple enemies and there's just no way for you to escape. Other times you just can't get to the music box before the puppet attacks you. The animatronics can lock you down for upwards of 30 seconds, and that can mean death. This is pretty uncommon though, and it can be somewhat mitigated by proper resource management. However, even when you do die like this, it's not that big a deal because you're never losing more than a few minutes of progress. The game has some other shortcomings too. The missions are structured in such a way that all of them can be completed within the first minute or so of each night before most of the enemies have activated. This is the optimal way to play the game, but it isn't the most fun. When your objective is complete and it's just a matter of keeping the music box wound, you don't need to move around that much. You don't need to take many risks, and you don't get to experience as many cool dynamic scares that the game can provide. Fortunately, this is pretty easy to fix. There could be missions that require you to go do something every hour, or objectives that don't become available until after 3 AM or something. This would force the player to wander out of their comfort zone later in the night when more animatronics are active, and it would lead to more interesting, fun, dynamic experiences. However, as it stands, the optimal way to play the game just isn't the most fun way to play the game, and most players aren't going to deliberately take risks just to make the game spookier for themselves. Upon completing the game, Nightmare Mode is unlocked, an extra difficult 6th night during which the screen is covered in a spooky red filter. This level is so hard, I can't beat it. It's just crazy hard, and it's also difficult to see, which makes it even harder. In fact, there's a secret 7th night hidden within the game. If you go to the extras menu, navigate to the image of Shadow Bonnie, and leave it up for a few seconds, night 7 begins. This night features all the animatronics from the other nights, but also adds 2 endoskeletons to the mix. As has become the trope for endos, they can't move while you're looking at them, and the night becomes a balance of keeping an eye on the endos, but not looking at the shadow animatronics, and all the while avoiding the rest of the animatronics, Balloon Boy, and keeping the music box wound. And I couldn't beat night 6, and night 7 is even harder, so yeah. Both these nights have cool ideas and neat mechanics, but the balance is just a bit off. Regardless, these are all minor criticisms, and most of them could be addressed pretty easily with a content update. Furthermore, come on, this game was made in a week. In light of that, it's incredibly impressive. It's a polished, complete experience. It isn't buggy, and the mechanics are pretty straightforward, and it just works. The game is already really cool. It just has even more potential that could be tapped into with a bit of refinement. According to the developer Seg, they're working on a Fazbear Nights 3, another 3D free-roam FNAF fan game, this time set in the Fazbear Frights location from FNAF 3. They mentioned to me that afterwards afterwards, they may go back and release an update for this game, addressing some of these issues. That sounds awesome to me. Honestly, these games are so impressive, I'd love to see them get packaged into some kind of wider release. While most of us are skeptical that series creator Scott Cawthon is ever going to announce any future games for the Fazbear Fanverse initiative, I really hope he reconsiders upon seeing Fazbear Nights. The game is already great and could already command a couple bucks on Steam were it able to be sold. If the third game comes out and then Seg goes back and cleans up the earlier games, I could totally see the trilogy being bundled together and sold as a pretty high value product. It'd certainly be of comparable value to some of the Fanverse titles we've seen so far. Check out Fazbear Nights 2 for free on GameJolt. I've never been as impressed by a 3D FNAF fan game before, and I honestly think it's up there with Junior's for fan game of the year. When I play a FNAF fan game, I just want to get scared and have fun. Fazbear Nights 2 achieves this better than most official FNAF games, let alone fan games. If you have any interest in the franchise or in spooky games in general, you really need to check this one out. Thanks for watching.